Hello, welcome to Tips on Teens. My name is Kent Toussaint, licensed marriage and family therapist, coming to you live on Facebook to answer your parenting questions every Wednesday at noon on your lunch break. We're also in our new location. We're still moving in, still kind of trying to hang pictures and stuff here and there, but we're finally in our new location. Very excited about that. So you can see the background is a little different now. Anyways, let's jump into this week's question. My wife is going into rehab next month for drinking. What am I supposed to tell my kids? They are 15 and 6 years old. This is a big question. It's a very confusing question for a lot of parents, whether you're the parent going into rehab or you're the parent who's not going to rehab. You're going to be there to take care of the kids while the other parent goes. It's very delicate, very sensitive. There's a lot of feelings involved. Addiction affects everyone. And not just the person struggling with that addiction, but also the spouses, the kids, especially the kids, because they're really out of control and sometimes they have a hard time understanding. The first thing I would do is recognize where their emotional levels are at. The 15-year-old probably can talk about things much more directly than the 6-year-old can. So let's talk about the 6-year-old first. And again, you may talk about this separately with your kids or together, depending on your kid's maturity level. So the 6-year-old, first I would ask, hey, have you noticed things different about mommy lately? You know, like, I don't know what your wife's symptoms are. It could be varied. But let's say, for example, that she's sleeping a lot. You know, your 6-year-old comes in, finds her passed out on the couch, or she's really grumpy, or you know, whatever those symptoms are. If she can talk about things, or he, apparently the 6-year-old is a boy or a girl, if your 6-year-old can talk about some of those symptoms, you can say, yeah, well, because mommy's sick, but she's going to a place where she can feel better with doctors, and they're going to help her, take care of her, help her feel stronger. And you can label the sickness. I think the sickness is called addiction, and it is a disease, but it can be treated and can be helped. Your 6-year-old may ask more about what is addiction. You can, I assume your 6-year-old has probably seen mom drinking. If she hasn't or he hasn't, you can kind of tailor-make it. It's like, well, it's about, you can talk about how it's this attachment or this connection to drinking alcohol and makes someone feel not well. And the more someone drinks, the more they feel they have to drink. And that's why we want to eat healthy, drink healthy, take care of our bodies. It can totally turn into a really healthy talk about health hygiene. But let your 6-year-old know that depending on the ability to contact, because different facilities have different rules on contact, let them know what the rules are for communication. Let your kids know that it's up to them whether they want to communicate with mom or not. Some kids may not want to communicate with mom because it's too scary or too frightening, or there's too much resentment, and they may need to wait until mom is at a more stable place to start repairing, and that is totally normal. The 15-year-old, you can probably probably be much more direct. You can just lay out the facts. This is what's going on. I assume the 15-year-old knows. Usually by the time someone's going to rehab, it's because that person is not hiding their addiction anymore, and it's become to a climax that things are really falling apart. So it's not going to be a surprise to the 15-year-old. Now, there's going to be some big emotions for both the 15-year-old and the 6-year-old, and for the spouse, the husband who's staying at home, who's going to try to pick up the pieces. It's important to talk about the routines. You know, who's going to be there for pickups and drop-offs, who's going to take to soccer practice, who's going to make dinner. These things will probably change with that one parent out of the house for a month, 3 months, 6 months, depending on how long that rehab takes. But it's important to have some kind of plans. It's also important to allow your kids to talk about their feelings and their emotions, and talk about whether there's anger or sadness. Don't try to explain them away. Don't try to take those feelings away. Don't try to make them feel differently. Let them feel the way they feel, because that will help them get through the feeling. There's a lot of support out there, whether it's getting your kids into therapy, whether it's getting your teenager into Al-Anon, getting yourself into Al-Anon. There's a lot of communities to help. Also, many rehab centers will have community outreach within their own facility for families to get their support they need. And also, once you reintegrate that parent back in the house, there's going to be some it's going to take some help, and you may need to have a therapist or a rehab specialist help with that. That's going to be a big thing. This is not an easy topic. It's a big issue. Everyone's going to go through it in a different way. That's why it's really important to make sure you're leaning on professionals to help support you with this. Anyways, that is our question for today. Thank you for writing in. Please keep the questions coming. You can email us at tipsonteens@teentherapycenter.com, and I'll answer your questions every Wednesday at noon. Thanks a lot. See you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.